Hello, everybody. Welcome to another live stream. We are live again, and I hope everybody is fine. We discussed last week. We had, of course, the plan to do today a Albino 3 Legend session. So it's starting up. Let's see in the chat room if people pop up. I hope the sound is good. What I did today is give it a try to drop a Albino 2 preset in one of the folders. So, but then things did not work out. It had a kind of freeze. I don't hope that it happens again, but the same presets which are in the original Albino 2, you will find also in Albino 3. What is the difference? The main difference, I think, with Albino 2 and Albino 3 was that we had this layer option. Down here you can see you have the banks, and you see the layer is S, stands for a solo instrument, which essentially, so if you go to the ambient sounds, a Belt of Fire Part 2. It's a single sound. Or you can, and you see here we added in the Legend version here the letter B for bank and the letter P for preset, because it's a different compared to our other plugins. In the other plugins we have, in the upper section, we have the bank and presets, and the top ones are the presets, and then you get bank. Here it's toggled, of course, because it's an older instrument, and of course it has a little bit different interface. So if you go to a bank here, you can select a bank here. You see I have some banks with the letter A inside of it, but what is the case is that with the letter A is what we have now available, but the other ones are Albino 3 presets, which are a little bit corrected in terms of presets. And I see Tonal Access is in the chat room. Tonal is doing this job fixing the volume, because the original volumes was a little bit soft compared to the other instruments we have. So let me see if I can have an example. This arpeggiator layered A. So this was the original one, and you see down here, what, this one is not that soft. In fact, if I go here to 0, okay, 1 second. Well, that one is pretty okay. So most likely that one is in the corrected one almost the same. So I go back here to the corrected one. Yeah, a little bit louder, you see. So a little bit more energy. And you see in this preset, 4 layers are used. So essentially, with Albino 3, you could stack up to 4 Albino 2 synths. And that was a very cool concept. So that's one thing you need to know. If you're new to Albino 3, you have layer presets, and there's always the name layered behind it in the bank. So you got arpeggiator layered and ambient layered. And then the other sounds are mostly done the single sounds. If I go to basses, synth bass 1. Yeah, and if you want to have that one layered, then you go to layer 2, and you click the layer active, and then you load here a preset. Click on L, and then you pick one of the, of course, single presets. So layer, I pick then a different bass. Let's go to the basses, deep basses. I take here one bass. Okay, open. Then it shows also the name of it. So you can stack it, even if you start from a single preset, you still can stack things together. And then it appears also the name. The name does disappear if you save it. Then it becomes again layer 1 or layer 2. So then you see, so if I shut this down, again, you see the layer is again S for solo. So it's one single sound. Well, there is one initial preset. That's here. In the bank initial preset. The other preset you just heard was this Albino 2 preset, which I dropped in the Albino 3 folder, which worked. The initial preset is in the Z init preset, so the default preset we call it in the other plugins. So then I show simply a single layer, and so let's then first talk about the single sounds. So layer down here is S for single sound. You got here the 4 oscillators which you can use. Toggle between 1 and 3 or 2 and 4. Well, each oscillator has 2 types, an analog type sound, which has the traditional waveforms, saw, in between saw and square, and even a sub-oscillator. Symmetry you can control, which is for the square waveform, of course. And then the digital one is based on spectrum waveforms. And here you can use this little fader from scrolling from one side to another. So here you can pick one of the spectrum waveforms, and then morph between them. It was not possible at that time to modulate these things, but what you can do is record this as a parameter. That's now possible. So these are the oscillators. Then there is also a noise oscillator with even a pink color, which is in between white and brown. And then audio in, which is not working because, then you need a sidechain input. And that doesn't always work with the today's VST. VST3 should be maybe possible, but that one we essentially, it's inside of it, but it will not do anything. So then you got these 4 oscillators. You can combine them together and you route them into filter 1, filter 2, or filter 1 and 1, 2 together. So that's the routing. So now it goes to filter 1. And in filter 1, it has 2 types of filters. The silk and cream. Silk is more, as the word does say, a bit more different in sound, more mellow, resonance. And then the cream is a little bit more, just a different character. It's a little bit more toned in some cases with the resonance open. So I open the resonance here and let me go back to silk. You hear the difference. It's a little bit different in times of tone. Then we got the scream, and the scream has the more very aggressive resonance. Then there's a comb filter. And you can open the resin. So different filter silk and cream are the most often used one I think in this product. And so if you go back to these cream, there is a pre-filtered saturation, which is kind of distortion. So if I pick here the digital waveform and pick a sinus waveform, which is the most cleanest waveform, this is the saturation. 3 types. Yeah, then of course you have 12 dB, 24 dB, high pass, band pass, notch. And you see the user interface changes a little bit if you go to the screen. That one has this type of selection because it has a more different type of, okay, let's go back to the flat. Not sure what that means. Very aggressive. He can blow up your speakers with these type of filter sounds. Yeah, we can go from the filter. He has a panning on the other side, and from filter 1 you can go to filter 2 again by using this F2 here, or you can go to the 4 FX which are inside of it, or combination of FX1 plus FX3. So these are the filter 1 pan and filter 2 pan. So a lot of features already for one sound. And I can see, by the way, Johan mentioned while stacking sounds, you need to control the channel volume. Yeah, or you can adjust here this volume, overall volume. So if you have, let's go back to a layered arpeggiator sound here. You can change the volume here. If you're gonna save the preset then. So, okay, let's see everybody in the chat room. Yeah, of course, Albino 3 has a very different sound compared to the other plugins. And that makes it cool to have, even if you have already the other ones, it simply has some very nice presets. It's used on countless tracks. It's a typical Dutch dance sound. So this is one of the layered sounds, but let's go back to these single sounds. So for the ones who are joining a bit later on, Albino 3 has 2 modes. A layered mode, where you down here, where you can layer up to 4 Albino presets, essentially Albino sounds, Albino 2 sounds in Albino 3. So you got a single sound, but you also can stack 4 single sounds. So this one uses a bass drum for layer 1. And if you click here, then you can edit this layer, because this is the view. Yeah, you can. This one is when I press S for okay, that's for saving, not for solo Rob. That's audition. That one. So if I shut down this one, I only hear it's a bass drum. Then the second one, it's a sequence sound. Here you can see it playing. Then in the top, and there's the split point. Here you see the keyboard range. You can change the split point. And then I need to put it on, of course. Here you can see the key range is C. So this one goes to C3. And then if you play one note higher, you got the upper range. Okay, there's a question. Does the filter have distortion? It has a pre-filter distortion, which I just showed. So for the people who are later, this down here is the layer one. So here this displayed layer, it does say L. If it does mention S, it means that you only have one preset, which is always the first one, which is S. Now we have then the banks. You see, I have a little bit more banks because version A is the original one, but B, the without A are the current ones which are volume checked. So if I go to arpeggiator sounds here, so so then you have one single sound. So that's something you need to address. Then the filter distortion is here in the filter, so it's the saturation, different types. Of course, it boosts the volume. Okay. I have some bleeps here. I don't know what is going on. It's maybe again my wacky USB front connection, which is very wobbly. So here we have 4 options for the distortion. There are no other distortions. You have 4FX, which is chorus, delay, reverb, lo-fi, but not really a distortion. So the distortion is more inside the pre-filter. Maybe the compressor could be. No. Flanger. So these are the effects. 4 of them are maybe the lo-fi. By make some dirty sounds. Of course, it's a little bit different than our current version. You cannot, if you have here the modulation matrix, I think everything is already set. But the destinations, let's see if it has the filter or the FX. Not yet. That's not possible. Yeah, of course it's. I mean, this instrument was developed 10 years ago. Yeah, so back here to the bank, if I go back to initial preset, pick here the sinus waveform, then you hear the this is the distortion. Pre-filter it is. Okay, question, Rob, can you explain what the note offsets could be used for? A good one, let me think. So note offset is as a, should be note plate linear, external note offset. Where is it? I don't see it. You mean in Albino 3 note offset? because we have offset in our other plugins, but that's more to change a parameter to give it an extra different parameter setting. I don't see it here. I see MIDI controllers, LFOs, arpeggiator, but not note. So maybe, Johan, you can explain what you mean by that. Okay. So, yeah, what is then the other stuff inside of it? So you have the initial preset. So we have explained a little bit spread, which is a multiple oscillator sound. Ah, there you mean in the lower section note offset. That means that, for instance, if you want to have, so let me, if I want to say this lead sound, I want to play this lead sound, which normally I would play up here, and I want to play it more. So this is, for instance, the lead sound, but I want to make a split point. And instead of having here to play, I also can say play it here, but then I need to offset it. And then I change it, go. So it transposes. Note offset means essentially you transpose this layer. That's very high. This means that if you go and using split points, that you can adjust the range of the sound. So this is normally, of course, you mostly use that if you have a layer preset. Let me see if maybe in the arpeggiator layered, if there maybe is a preset which is using some of it. Neuer. No. Not very often used, as I can see. So I could say make then one octave lower. Or higher. I play the same note, but that simply does offset. So it's simply you change the position of the sound plate. So you as if you were playing it on a different scale, and that's handy if you yeah, a transpose function for each layer. That's the short name for it. So essentially, it's already a little Prisma thing, 4 layers in total. So that's the advantage of it. Okay, if you have a question about Albino 3, some people use it already for decades. For the new ones, it's of course a total new machine. There are many presets on board. I did not count how many, but I think 1400, something like that. I'm not sure, but a nice range of presets on board. And at that time, you also give them different bank names. You see here in my banks are with the letter A behind, which is the original ones. The other ones are checked by volume. Sound effects, you have all the sound effects. Birds. This one uses pink noise, I can see. This uses FM modulation. So now the digital oscillator doesn't go to the filter, but does frequency modulation on oscillator 2. Over 2000. Okay, yeah. Yeah, it's of course. The Albino 3 uses also the Albino 2 preset. So what you hear now, the single presets, are most cases all Albino 3. So this is a sound effect bank. Modulation sequence sounds, which is especially focused on. This one is monophonic. Glide it has, but here you see the polymodes simply is inside this section. Unison. Single trigger. Let me see if then. So this is how the polyphonic works. You can say monophonic with legato mode, or you say polyphonic synth. So there is not really a polyphonic mode, but you can go up to 16 notes polyphonic. 12. Why does it say 0, 0? 16 it would be. So it's different compared to all the other plugins, but in terms of working flow, it's pretty straightforward. So again, you have in the top section here the banks, all kind of banks. Layered means that up to 4 layers can be used, and the other ones are all single presets. So there are some noisier presets. They create some presets for us. Some nice sound. Yeah, so. Yeah, you see there's cool stuff inside of it. It's a very great addition to the, and it's great that it's back in the catalog. Okay, let me see if there are any questions. I'm looking up in the chat room. Okay, well, nothing new. I think if there's a question, let me know. What's the generation button? Oh yeah, that's more a random generator. I never liked that because it's uncontrollable. Let's press it. Just changes to the parameters. It's a randomizer. Sometimes you run in a nice preset, but very often you run into a R2D2 sound. It's famous noisy sounds. By the way, is there anybody who is short of channels? I have a little tip for you if you have, because I have a 16-channel mixer, but instead of jacking each time if I want to play another synthesizer, first I had a big, okay, I'm a bit out of sight. I had a big 32-channel mixer, but it was so huge, and I found a very nice stereo mixer, which is ridiculous cheap and sounds very good. Let me show you. And they made a mistake on the panel that makes it even funny. So it's this little box, and it has stereo jackets input, so you need insert cables in case you are having stereo instruments. But you see what I wrote down here is mono is stereo and stereo is mono. So one of the Chinese designer forgot to check what he's printing on this panel, because it's just the other way around. But I have already a few of them, but they are very sturdy. And I also use them on the old mono synths, and it doesn't have any noise. It's very clean in sound. You power it with a telephone 2-amp battery loader, which USB-C, but it's ridiculous cheap, and I really was amazed by the quality. And maybe it's so cheap because they did a whole production run with the wrong labels. So if I press it, it's mono, and if I don't press it, it's stereo. So, and it's funny. It's just the other way around. And this is the 8-channel one. They have a 6-channel and even a 4-channel. I'll if somebody wants to know that, but it uses how you say that? It uses the power from a mobile, but it's very nice. A small mixer. Yeah, even for a live gig, it can be handy. If you have a few channels, not enough. The only disadvantage is you need to have if you send the stereo out, you need to have an insert cable, because the inputs inside of it are a stereo input, and it is also stereo output. But for instance, I connected all the older machines on the right-hand side, my old analog machines, they are mono. So I picked set to mono, and that goes to one channel. I don't have to switch anymore. I simply turn on the volume. So if you want to know it, let me know. I will put a link inside of it. Yeah, the price what I paid is ridiculous. I think it was something about 30 euros. And it's very sturdy. It's very sturdy, and the sound quality is perfect. Doesn't know any noise, nothing. Most likely because it's only a volume control. Maybe that makes the difference, that it only controls the volume. Yeah, I will, Stephen. I will put a link in the info description. This description below the YouTube, and then you will find it. And a friend of mine already purchased also one, because he has many synths, and then he doesn't have to switch it. So it's either for mono instruments, it's perfect, and for stereo instruments, the only thing is that that you need an insert cable for stereo sound. Okay. Taxonic audio, don't forget each layer can have its own ARP. Yeah, definitely. With different speeds. Yeah, absolutely. If you go to the ambient layer, yeah, I think there are plenty of examples. You know. Yeah, it's for a small price. It's yeah, I think it's hard for you guys to see, but this is really a metal box. It's very, very solid build, and maybe they do this for this price because one guy forgot to check the button labels and toggled mono and stereo, which is of course. No, it's from the infamous Chinese shops. And I did try out the 6-channel. I was totally blown away by the audio quality of it. Of course, it doesn't have gain or EQ, but I did not need that. I simply want to stack some synths so that I don't have to jack in, jack out every time. And I was totally blown away by the sound. So in total, I have one spare for on stage if somebody needs an extra channel. And the other one I use on the left-hand side where I have my Waldorf Pulse, Microwave, Pro T1000, and the Orbit 3. They have all stereo outs and they go with an insert cable to this little mixer. And yeah, works perfectly. So yeah, stacking the arpeggiators. Here you can hear that. Okay, let's see. Very minimal. And you all three can edit them. Was a kick. Of course, you can combine it with punch. Let's give it a. Let's see if we have a beat. Okay, now it's gone. Where is it? So very nice to combine players together. Okay, I played a few wrong notes. Sorry for that. So yeah, it's a still a very valid instrument, which with its own sound. It is really having its own, and that makes it so cool that it's back again in the catalog. Gator presets, yeah, using the Gator FX. I think let's see where it is. Here it is. Yeah, if you have a question about albino 3, let me know. You see this one is again a single sound. The banks are selected here. Digital basses. Let me see here. That's maybe interesting to check. Oh, the basses. It's a nice bass. Yeah, this is the modulation matrix, which is here. Then you have the arpeggiator, and here you have the LFOs 1, 2, 3, 4, and you can address them using the modulation matrix. So L1 up to L4 are the LFOs. Modulation matrix, you see 1 to 8 and 9 to 16. You got 16 slots, and here's the arpeggiator. And the arpeggiator need to put on here. Voices has no influence. So that's how you put it on, essentially. It's of course saved, and of course this one already has the chord mode, which of course I requested at that time at Peter Linsener of Limpler to embed chord mode. The chord mode was essentially the first request I did was to the guys of Access Virus at that time. In the Virus A, I used the re-triggering or the triggering, MIDI triggering of the LFO, which is so down for doing the chord triggering type of sounds. And they say, oh, what you want to do with chord? I said, yeah, well, if you have rhythm, then you can do some very cool chord triggering. So it's not really an arpeggiator sound. Chord is really triggering the chords. Because here we can click things on. Okay, I forgot how you do this. Oh, that's a good one. How do I do a step off? I forgot that. That's a good one. Oh yeah, off. So that's the chord mode. So that one appeared then, of course, also in the albino. I think albino, even albino 2 it was. Yeah, albino 1 did not have an arpeggiator, if I'm not wrong. So the albino 2 had the arpeggiator, and of course I requested the chord mode. Yeah, you see on the left side you have the envelopes, which you can use also for the oscillators. If you have the sustain open, and this basic setting, it always is sounding, but you can use it only for oscillators. And free modulation, ADSFR, so with fade, and of course filter 1 has its own envelope, filter 2 also. And then you got the amplifier envelope. And you could use here the different curves. Yeah, then of course, yeah, this is the right-hand side I just explained with the arpeggiator, which you need to activate by simply picking one of the modes. And if it's off, yeah, I have the normal sounds again. So there, it's a bit different from, for instance, if you go to bit 2, so it's also a little bit bigger in the user interface, but here in bit 2, you go to the play mode, which is up here, and then you go from poly to the ARP. So that's different. Here's the play mode. You have different play modes. So that's a little bit different in the original Albino 3 that the arpeggiator need to really put on in the arpeggiator itself. And here you have the symbol polyphonic voices, or you say monophonic. Okay, let me see. The chat room has a question. For what kind of sounds can you use up? Yeah, well, just play around with it. If you have a nice sound, make music with it. It sounds different. It's a bit more the old style VST sound to my impression, but that's also a sound. So even if the sound is different, I think our other instruments are a bit more open, more wider in sound, but it still has a very useful sound. Not really that much presets, no. Maybe in some of the, let's see, if I go to the 16 mod matrix is, of course, if you, I don't think that they are all used. If I go to a different bank, let me see. Not really, you see. I think there are not many sounds that use 16. 8 is already, because yeah, keep in mind, for instance, the velocity is already inside here. And the envelope amount is here. So many connections are already inside the synth predefined. Okay, reading the chat room. Okay. So yeah, I would say play around. It's a classic, groundbreaking plugin at that time, definitely, and still very, very valid in terms that you have some very cool sounds. Even chord memory was there. Oh no, that's not. So also here you have chord. Of course, here you need to play it. Let me see, learn. I play the notes and then I have to play it. Okay, so this way. Okay, and then play. Of course, it's just a little bit the same as we had in the earlier age with Predator and Blue, for instance, that you have to press learn. Then the best is to start with the root key C and play some notes. Let go and then press play. Yeah, the lowest section, essentially, it's a little Prisma as well. You only can combine then the Albino 3 presets, but you can combine up to 4 Albino 3 presets. And essentially, that idea did lead me also to Prisma. And in Prisma, of course, you can combine different synthesis together. You can combine Blue 3 with Predator or whatever. And of course, in the future, we also will add Albino 3. So if I add a track and select, for instance, here, Prisma. And Prisma, of course, loads the instruments. So here we have Prisma. Prisma essentially, if you go to the manager and you go to, let's see, Super Pads, Grease Evening Pad. I click that one. You see loading, please wait. Then you have Blue 3 combined with Bit 2. Then you can hear chains also. Whole different concept, but that essentially you see that the idea I had for Albino 3, with the 4 layers, came back in Prisma down, but down in the combination that you can also combine all or plugins. So this one uses twice blue. I'm not sure his move. June Space Bat. That uses Go 2 and Blue 2. Yeah, sure. Go to X needs to be very soon added to Prisma. We're working on that, and also Albino 3 Legend. The problem with Albino 3 Legend is that Albino 3 Legend already has 4 layers, and if you go down to the layer page, you have the easy edit. Then you have all these parameters you can select, and I need to figure out which one I'm gonna use. Most likely only the first from the first layer then if a single preset is loaded. Okay guys, that was it for today. I hope you enjoyed it, and I will put in the link for this little mixer, which is really cool if you need a little bit more channels in your mixer and don't want to patch it. So thanks for watching, and we check next week again. Bye-bye.